In order to get hired as an adventure photographer, it's important to show where you've been and where you're going. And because a lot of how we live our lives as photographers is through the images we capture, it's important to create a selection of images that captures who you are in order to market yourself to potential clients. In this video, I'm going to walk you through everything you need to know about creating an awesome portfolio so that you can get hired. Let's dive in. So getting hired as an adventure photographer can happen in a myriad of ways. You can have people contacting you through your website, you can have a network with word of mouth. There's many ways people can hear about you, but once people have heard about you, the first thing that they will do in order to determine where you are in your career and what you've done is looking at your portfolio. Your portfolio can say a lot about who you are and what you've done. Your portfolio is your selection of images that communicates your skill set as a photographer. Your skill set as a photographer, of course, is about the technical pieces that you've been learning, but also about the types of adventures that you're going on. And because adventure photography might be a little bit different than some of the commercial photography or other tutorials that you may see on YouTube, hopefully this can give some insight into what types of images that clients are looking for. I've been an adventure photographer for about 10 years now, getting hired for clients all over the world from all the biggest brands in the outdoor industry. And through this process, I think I've started to figure out what it is that they're looking for in order to correctly assign the right photographer for the right job. So you can get hired for projects that speak to you and will ultimately serve your client the best way possible because they're hiring you for your style, and your style is clear and powerful through your portfolio. So now that we know why a portfolio is important, let's walk through some of the nitty-gritty details we need in order to create a collection of images that speaks to who you are and gets you hired for the right jobs. The first tip, and arguably the most important, is understanding your audience. Identifying your target clients right off the bat can really help alleviate some of the problems of going through all of these photos that you've collected throughout your career and whittling down into a small group that shows who you are and what you've done. There's a number of different target clients you can have in the outdoor industry, so you could be focusing on primarily commercial projects, you could be focusing on primarily magazines or editorial work, you could be showcasing your skill set as an expedition photographer through climbing, skiing, any sort of specific sport. Have a brainstorm and really start to think through what type of clients that it is that you want to attract, whether it's brands, magazines, or individual athletes. There's a lot of potential clients. I think there's actually a lot of people that are paying for adventure photography in this day and age, but tailoring your portfolio to a specific group set can actually help get you farther along than cultivating a portfolio that may appeal to all types of audiences. If you are an expedition climbing photographer, show some of the lifestyle, what it's like to be on expeditions, show some of your greatest on-the-wall imagery, but don't focus on anything that doesn't have to do with that. Don't show any surfing images you've captured or snowboarding images. If you only want to get hired as an expedition climbing photographer, tailor your portfolio to be very specific to that. To provide a little bit of a personal touch for this, for me, when I select my images for my portfolio, I'm thinking of outdoor lifestyle photos because I don't just capture skiing or I don't just capture climbing, I capture a wide range of outdoor disciplines. So I think it's important that I showcase that I can ski, I can climb, I can surf, I can trail run, I can do all the outdoor sports, and having imagery that reflects my holistic approach to outdoors rather than a specific expedition style for one specific sport. Having a portfolio that reflects all of these different individual disciplines can help communicate to these clients that whether they're wanting trail running photography or skiing or surfing, I can be the guy as long as it falls within this certain style. Over the years, I have taken hundreds of thousands of photos through all of these different disciplines that I focus on, and paring them down into 20 to 30 high quality photos is a really daunting task, but a really important one. I could lay out page upon page upon page of all of the photos that I've taken, but really that doesn't show all of my skill sets as a photographer in a very cohesive way. It shows that I've taken a lot of photos, but ultimately clients want to see the right type of photos, which is why this leads me into my second point: focus on quality over quantity. Choosing the best 20 to 30 photos to select for your portfolio is really tough, but it is so important to really pare down only the best of the images you've taken, even if that means having fewer images in your portfolio. I do both photo and video, and when I'm hiring photographers for some of my projects, if they have hundreds of photos in their portfolio, it's really overwhelming for me to look through and try to understand their style and what they've done. If a photographer sends me their portfolio and there's 20 to 30 images in there and I can understand their style and what they're about in those images, that is a very successful portfolio to me, and they will likely land the job with me. In the process of selecting the best images, there are two things that you should also keep in mind. The first is showcasing your unique style. Try to highlight what makes you unique, what makes you special, whether it's your use of light or composition or the specific subject matter that you're photographing. Really include who you are in your photos. This is sort of a living diary for a lot of us adventure photographers. A lot of our portfolio might start off being friends or different trips that we've done, and gradually over time it will include bigger and bigger projects and more diverse cast. Showcasing your unique style, especially at the beginning, can help differentiate you between other photographers that might be up for the same job. This leads me into my next point, which may sound contradictory, but it's actually not once I explain it. Variety and consistency is really important in creating a good portfolio. You're thinking, Rue, variety and consistency sound like two completely different things. You're right, but let me explain. Variety is showcasing action shots, landscapes, portraits, different styles of photography. But consistency is having your consistent style be that through voice, through all of those different images. So when I look at a portrait in a portfolio, does that have the same feeling and same style as the action shots that they're taking, as the landscapes that they're taking, as the different adventures that they're going on? This is hard to do as a photographer. We go on a lot of different adventures, and whether the lighting is different or the mountains are different or the sea is different, having a consistent style through the different lighting conditions, the different scenarios you may find yourself in, can help introduce clients to who you are and the style that you're going for. So they know when they hire you to go on a certain project, they're going to expect a certain type of imagery, which is the imagery that you know that you can produce because that's the style that you have. You may notice when you go through my portfolio that there is a slight consistent style, but there is also a wide variety of images that I've taken. I've gone underwater in Senegal and on tops of hot mountains in Mexico, and having the same imagery from those two vastly different places is really challenging, but a lot of my style actually comes in the storytelling that happens in those images. So while the imagery may be slightly different, the stories and the feelings that the clients feel from those images hopefully is the same. So whether your photographic style isn't especially unique, maybe how you pair those images with words or with videos can actually help differentiate you from the other adventure photographers that are out there. And I think at the end of the day, that's why people hire photographers to capture images of these far off places and these wonderful adventures, is we're trying to share stories of what's happening in the world. Whether you're communicating a story about climate change or about big adventures and people pushing the limits or a mental health journey somebody is going on, the images that come back from those adventures can sometimes be just as important, if not more important, than what actually happened there on the mountain. If we're able to communicate these stories through our images, that can have lasting impact on society. And so for me, that's where I've focused my style, is in the storytelling. But have a think through for yourself. If you're really into snowboarding, create a portfolio around snowboarding and only show great snowboarding images that you've taken, and don't focus on the surfing or the climbing or the camping or any other discipline. Just focus on what it is that you want to get hired for and pare down 20 to 30 images and you will be good to go. Now that we've talked about how to select the images for your portfolio, let's walk through how to organize your portfolio. And this part's fun. The most important place for your portfolio to live is on a website. This allows potential clients and your target audience to not only see the photos that you've taken, but maybe a little bit about those photos. Maybe you have a blog where you can write accompanying articles to some of the adventures you've been on. Maybe you can share a little bit of video work. You'll have a homepage sharing some of the clients that you've worked with. A website is a great holistic place for somebody to learn about you and see what you've done, more so than just the images that you've taken, but also it just allows for a really clear layout and really professional designed portfolio that allows clients to take you a little bit more seriously than they would if you only had a portfolio shared on social media. And once you've uploaded your images to the website, now you have the exciting task of figuring out how to organize them. This is a really overwhelming process for me personally because I don't know how to do this the best way possible at all times. Currently, I have my website laid out so there is summer photos and winter photos. And the reason I did this is my work spans a variety of disciplines and I didn't want to have a series of tabs indicating the skiing photos, the climbing photos, the surfing photos, the mountain bike photos, the trail running photos, because it just could get too overwhelming. So I broke it down basically into warm photos and cool photos. And then I would have a specific portfolio only page that had 20 to 30 highly selected images that are curated, and anytime that I take a new best photo of my career, I will replace it with old photos that no longer make the cut into the portfolio. This is a really brutal process, but it is really important to do so you're always showing your best and most updated work. Regardless of how you structure your images, have a think through on what you want that to look like for yourself. You could categorize your images by theme, which is kind of what I've done, by location, by project, by discipline. So however you choose to structure it and design it is up to you, but I would encourage you to organize it and categorize things in a clear and cohesive manner. You can also go one step farther and include case studies or specific project examples within your portfolio. This is where a website is really great because a client can click on an image and it can redirect them to a case study on that specific project. I personally love this style because I think images only communicate a small part of what you may have been doing for that client. And so having a broader case study where you can showcase your marketing knowledge, where you can showcase your filmmaking abilities, where you can showcase your writing abilities, or just provide more background on the project rather than the one image that you created, can be very valuable in attracting more clients down the line. Because if you can communicate what you've did for one past client, a potential client might want the same thing and see that and want to hire you because of that. This actually sort of leads me into my next point, which is writing compelling descriptions for your photos. Whether or not you choose to do an entire blog post or case study on your specific images, making sure you're having at least some caption or some description of what's happening to provide background on that image. Ultimately, clients will hire you because you are solving a problem for that client. And if you can communicate in these descriptions that you are solving a problem, you're thinking on your feet, you can maybe outline some of the challenges involved in creating that photo, maybe a little bit about the location and the background on the athlete, or give some context to the shot. Potential clients will see that and think, hey, this is a person that can solve a problem for me because they have solved a problem and created an amazing image out of it. And photography is hard. Photography is hard. It's important to showcase that you have overcome challenges in creating a certain image if that's the case. If it's snowing and it's hailing and you can type a brief description of, as you can see in the snow in this photo, my camera battery died shortly after because it was too cold to continue photographing, but this is the one image that I got that I felt really spoke to the power of snow in this area, or whatever it is that the story is that you're trying to communicate. Maybe it's a climate change story, maybe it's showcasing the prowess of the athlete. It could be anything, but showcasing a little bit of who you are through these captions and through the descriptions can go a really long way in your portfolio. There's actually been multiple situations when I've been on initial calls with clients where they have actually asked me a little bit more about some of the descriptions that I wrote because they're curious to learn more about what had happened. For instance, when I got trapped in Morocco in 2022, I published some photos from there, and a lot of clients will ask about what that experience was like because it's kind of an interesting story. And thankfully, if you want to watch it, it is all documented in a 4-part series here on YouTube in case you are curious to learn more about it as well. But a lot of those descriptions on photos can go a long way in creating a relationship with the client before you even hop on a call with them, which I think is pretty powerful in getting you business. Now that we've talked through a lot of the nitty-gritty on creating a cohesive adventure portfolio that will get you clients, now is the final step of marketing your portfolio. When it comes to marketing your portfolio, this can be done in a myriad of ways, but I think the most important, especially in the adventure photography niche, is creating real-world connections that hopefully can lead to business. Despite the names and number of clients that I've worked with, I still actually, honestly, have a very hard time with cold outreach. A lot of the brands that I chat with via cold emails, which I have, honestly stopped doing in the past year and a half because I feel like I have a lot of work coming to me that I often can't keep up with. But cold outreach hasn't been very successful for me in the outdoor industry because a lot of the outdoor industry is very relationship based. People want to work with friends and they want to work with people they can trust. And reaching out through cold emails is pretty tough to break through a lot of the noise, even if you have a really amazing portfolio and lots of other clients that you've worked with. So I've found that going to in-person events and being an active member of the outdoor community has actually led to a lot of connections in the space that have carried me on to connect with clients. So in an ideal world, there's a sort of two-step experience that will happen. The first step is I will go to an in-person event, whether it be a group ride at a local bike store or a fun outdoor festival where I can meet all sorts of people that are interested in saving the environment just like I am, and connecting with somebody that works at a brand or in a marketing role at a bigger agency. And I connect with them in person, we have a good conversation, we become kind of friends. I tell them I'm a filmmaker and a photographer, and they're like, hey, send me your portfolio, I'd love to see what you've done. I send them my portfolio, they're like, oh wow, we love your photos, and then they hire me on a project down the line. That's a dream situation. That's ideally how it works, and in my experience, often how it does work. So of course, SEO and online visibility and having an active social media can be a part of that, but I know many successful adventure photographers that don't play into the social media game at all and rely most of their business on creating a strong portfolio through their website, meeting people in real life, doing a good job for a company, and then getting referred to another company because of that. And in order to make that connection between meeting somebody and getting that initial introduction to hiring them and signing them on as a contracted client, that middle piece is the portfolio. So I hope in this video you learned a little bit about how to do that better. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment or check out my website with all of my portfolios, with all of my photos and my videos and a little bit about me. You can feel free to critique my portfolio if you would like. Think about what you've loved that I've done, maybe things that you would like to do differently in your own portfolio, get inspiration, check out other adventure photographers' websites, get inspiration from them, really have a brainstorming session on who you are and what images can communicate that to potential clients. Love you, I'm proud of you. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more. I got new videos coming every Wednesday. I'll see you later.